In remembrance of Katherine Massa from Tallapoosa County. Steve, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Good evening. I also need notes. I apologize. My name is Steve, and I'm from Dadeville. I've been asked to speak tonight in remembrance of Katherine Massa. She was the only Dadeville resident lost in that terrible tragedy. I didn't want this to come across as an obituary or even as a eulogy, but rather give you a snapshot of the persona of this remarkable woman and the spirit she radiated even when no one was looking. I was first introduced to Katherine through our mutual involvement with Dadeville's Friends of the Library organization. She had moved to the lake area in 2005 in order to be closer to her daughter. The FOL was one of many local organizations that she had become active in. Now, some folks might join these types of organizations merely to stay busy in retirement, with the main intent of providing some insurance against boredom. But that was not Katherine's motive. If she was in, she was all in, pulling way more than her share of the weight. A casual, "What's new?" to Katherine would never, ever bring the answer of, nothing. Webster's dictionary defines the word exemplary as worthy of imitation, commendable, or serving as a model. It defines gentle as kindly, mild, considerate, tender, not harsh or severe. Both of those definitions may just as well have had Katherine's picture attached to them. She stood out in any endeavor she applied herself to, oftentimes in a leading role or a first-in-line volunteer. She was a regular at the city council meetings, not with the intent of complaining or badgering, but rather with an ear to gaining insight by quiet listening or offering input only if she felt it might be constructive. For my part, I always pictured her as some epical mom figure. But despite being rather average in physical appearance, Katherine was the kind of person you could pick out in a crowd of thousands and claim her as your own. Not through any mysterious penguin-like ability, but rather due to the sheer moral presence that made her stand out. She seemed to possess that wonderful ability to accomplish more with a single disapproving glare than with a whole boatload of verbal argument. You simply could not bring yourself to disappoint this woman. I was delighted to learn that she was originally from Chicago, of Polish extraction. Having seen a great part of this planet, I've always made it my business to learn a few polite phrases applicable to wherever I might find myself. And so it was that I made a habit of greeting her in Polish. Dzień dobry, pani, I would say. Jak się masz? A huge grin would come over her face as she made the appropriate reply, also in Polish. We would both chuckle at the thought of how odd that simple greeting must sound to any native Alabamian who might be within earshot. We could imagine the 9/11 call to Homeland Security that must surely be right then in progress. Katherine was both agile and wise beyond the 70 years which God had allotted her on this earth. She could often be found plucking weeds from the lawns of public buildings, not through any obsessive-compulsive disorder, but for no other reason than it needed doing, and no one had done it. Some city workers once told me that they would often encounter Katherine, who was an early riser, as she was out walking her little English bulldog, Sophie. Waving hello, they would hasten to scout the route ahead, lest she encountered some unsightly debris pile before they had a chance to clean it up. So again, you see, that's that pressing need to avoid that scowl of disapproval. Katherine Massa was a gentle soul, and she is sorely missed. Christ said that the meek shall inherit the earth, and knowing Katherine has given me a clearer knowledge of just what he might have meant by that seemingly contradictory statement. In these modern times, when greed and pride are routinely held up as goals to be sought after, Katherine is a breath of fresh air. It is my sincere hope that through this day of remembrance, you have all been witness to, as I have, the remarkable qualities so aptly demonstrated by that gentle soul as was embodied in Katherine Massa. She was the epitomization of humility, the dictionary definition of exemplary. Her very gentleness stands in victorious defiance of the vulgar violence that took her. It is that legacy that Katherine leaves us, the great lesson learned of the value of living one's life as a good example. Lord knows there are enough bad ones. Thank you.